Before we even knew each other, God was already working in our lives to have our worlds collide.
I always knew that there was someone special God had for me. Someone who would become my best friend and life partner. I just didn't know who that person was.
For me, I've always struggled with the idea of letting go, of giving up control. I would work so hard and push myself so much that eventually I just became completely burnt out. The man I thought I was supposed to marry deceived me. I disliked my job, I had barely any friends, and I just felt lost. Until I was found.
God drew us both to City Light Church in 2010 within 2 weeks of each other. We ended up being in the same membership class together, and even in our first life group together, which is where we actually met for the first time.
Sherman introduced himself to me, and he was so nice and had such a huge smile on his face that I actually thought he was hitting on me. He swears he wasn't, but we still joke around about it to this day. It was from that point on that we started a great friendship.
You never know who God is going to use to write your love story. You just have to trust Him and believe that He will guide you to His best choice for your life.
Over the next 3 years, Sherman became almost like a big brother to me. We would talk on the phone, hang out with our mutual friends after church, and a lot of times we're in the same life group together. But that was it. We never hung out alone, and I never had a single thought about dating him. Until one day, God decided to change all of that. I remember very clearly that day, I was so frustrated and bitter about a relationship that didn't work out, that I started to really reflect on my dating life. I asked God, why is this happening? Why am I not finding the one you want me to be with? So I decided at that point I was going to take the next 6 months and devote that time to God. No more dating, no more trying to do things just to meet guys, no more internet dating sites, just time alone, me and God. And I truly believe that it's because I was obedient in doing this that God did bless me with the man of my dreams.
In the summer of 2013, I remember that City Light Church had a barbecue in Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and I ran into Christine there, and she had just arrived back from a trip that she had taken to Mexico, so we were discussing Mexican cuisine, and I mentioned a restaurant called Alma, which is located in Brooklyn. It's a rooftop Mexican restaurant, and she had never heard of it before, and we made plans to get together and have dinner there.
We didn't really make plans. It was more like you asked me out, for the record, okay?
Well, for the record, the way I remember it was that Christine actually asked me out on dinner that night. But nevertheless, we wound up going there and meeting up. And I remember I got there before she did. And I remember seeing this person come through the door who was just glowing. And this woman was coming towards my table. And I remember thinking to myself, who is this person and why is she coming over to my table? And I hope she gets over to me before Christine arrives. But when she drew closer, I saw that it was actually Christine. And that was really significant because about a month before that, I had prayed and I had asked the Lord to illuminate my eyes and to make the woman that He wants for my personal life to glow. I remember praying and saying to the Lord, you know what, I don't do a good job of picking women for myself, so I want you to pick the right one for me and make it so that I would know who it was. The second time we went out, we decided to go to the cloisters. We were supposed to go to Governor's Island, but it was a little bit rainy that day, so we wound up at the cloisters. Now, dreams have always been a really significant part of my life, and I had a dream back in 2004, and in that dream I was leaving a movie theater with a female friend of mine, someone who I didn't know, I'd never seen before, and we were walking over a bridge next to a river. And I remember in the dream, although we were just friends in the dream, I knew somehow in my heart that this person would become my lifetime partner. And what was funny was that when we left the cloisters, Christine said, hey, why don't we take a walk in Fort Tryon Park? Well, as I was walking down this path, which I've never been on before, which was next to a river, I knew inside of myself spiritually, although I'd never been there physically, I had actually walked down this very path before some time in the past. And it reminded me of that dream I had in 2004. And all of a sudden, that dream that I had was becoming a reality.
And dreams are very important for me as well, because in July of 2013, when Sherman and I were just friends at that time, I had 2 very distinct dreams with Sherman, and I was very taken back by this. They were very right in a row, right next to each other. And the first dream, Sherman and I were friends, but he had been calling me and leaving me all these voice messages, and every voice message was something bigger and better. And the last voice message he left me, he said he loved me, and I just knew in my heart and in my spirit that this was the man I wanted to be with. The second dream, well, we'll leave that up open because it hasn't quite happened yet, but we know it will. Someone very wise once told me, God can only bless you with what you're willing to tolerate. Don't settle for less than God's best. This is what can happen when you allow God to write your love story.